Bulgarian. All of you gonna hear her scream tonight.
Yeah, baby. Don't fall asleep. Wake up.
So that is a person that you cannot trust. And so I removed myself.
But you think that Yara should not trust Lauren?
I didn't say trust. I didn't use that word.
You just said it.
Makes sense. You're so twisted on all your lies and all your conspiracies. I thought
You hurt us.
Are you trying to get his name off the deed?
I mean, I think it's fair. He doesn't live there. He didn't contribute money. That's the reality of what happened.
That is not.
I'll be very honest. If I went to him tomorrow and was like, hey, let's hook up, I have no doubts he would.
And heaven forbid, there's grandkids one day that come into a situation. It's like, they're our grandkids. It's like, it's part of our blood.
Y'all, the tell-all part 2 is here, and so much happened, yet nothing happened. Did any of y'all feel like that? It's almost like seeds were planted and things are about to pop off maybe in the next one. I think I'm most taken aback by Kara and Guillermo because they seem to be so confused about the status of their marriage when I am confused at the fact that they haven't filed for divorce. We have a lot to talk about. Let's get into it. Hi guys, welcome back to Nikki Faces Reality. We are here to discuss 90 Day Fiancé, Happily Ever After, the Tell All No Limits Part 2. I'm gonna be yapping for a long time, so we're gonna go straight into it. Before we do, as always, you guys make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hype, all of the things. So we pick up where we left off with the Florida crew, the yelling match between Andre and Lauren, and Libby sticks her head in to be like, Yara, what do you have to say? You've been talking so much this whole time. Say something. And I feel like that was such a ploy to get the heat off of her because all she did was contradict herself and everyone kept pointing it out. But Yara and Jovi are like, this has nothing to do with us. You did your friends dirty. And we get a little more context that Yara is like, Libby telling Lauren that I told her that she said that Andre is an awful person. I never said that.
Aren't you put me in the middle when you say that I say that she said he is a horrible person? I never said that. You lie about that. I never said that.
I did not lie about that. Maybe it was Jovi that said it. That was said. You think I made that out of the
And then Libby's like, oh, well, maybe it was Jovi. I don't know. I am convinced that Libby went into that event ready to cause some mayhem because she knew that everyone else knew that her husband stole $75K from her. And she is great and not so great at weaving a mess. Clearly, she thought that she could play Yara as a puppet, but Yara speaks up for herself. So Libby is exposed. But you guys, we get a piece of the info that I think if you are a girly, you get it. And you understand why Libby is #1 hater. So Libby says that her issue with Lauren is that they have been friends for so long and that they bonded over their love of being natural and they're not like other girls, okay? And the editors did Darcy dirty because as Libby's like, you know, we bonded over not liking injections and surgeries. And they like pan to Darcy like,
oh, we're not fake. We don't like plastic surgery. We don't like Botox. We don't like fillers. We don't agree with that stuff, right? We're like, most Florida women like that stuff. We're not like those girls.
But then she was like, you know, and then I was so disturbed when you told me that you wanted to do a mommy makeover. Whatever Lauren does with her body has nothing to do with you and should have no effect in your life. This is such like a crab mentality that it's like if you feel like your friend is going to be better, you want to like pull her down. And the thing is, like, Lauren doesn't owe Libby an explanation, but the fact that Libby then created this entire narrative that Lauren's husband hates her and that Lauren must be doing this surgery because of her husband, and Lauren is like, my abs were literally ripped apart after having 3 kids, like I wanted this to feel good about myself.
And then you're like, I'm getting a tummy tuck.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna get this liposuction, this, that. I was confused.
I've never wanted that stuff. But after I had my 3 kids, I did need the tummy tuck because I had the abdominal diastasis.
Honestly, like if you hadn't taken a closer look at her, you would think that she looks the same. She looks very natural. Nothing about her is plastic, but this gives you insight to Libby's mean girl mentality, that she's basically describing all of the things that she dislikes and that Yara represents. So she's like, we said that we weren't like gonna be like the other girls. Okay, so that means like you were talking shit about Yara. So when you were saying all of these things that Lauren supposedly said about Yara, it was actually you. And here's the thing, I don't think Lauren is perfect. Do I think that Lauren was talking shit in confidence with her friend and she thought that that would never come out? Probably. We probably all have said some things that are not so nice in the confidence of our friendships, right? But I think the key thing is that whatever Libby exposes about Lauren, she is exposing about herself. And she doesn't catch the irony. And they play back the scene where she's telling Yara, beware of Lauren, you can't trust her. And Libby's like, oh, I never said that. And everyone's like, we just saw it. You literally were running your mouth. And she was like, acting like she didn't say anything bad. Like,
You told Yara that Lauren made fun of her clothes. Is that right?
Made fun of her clothes?
Yes.
No, I don't think I used
You
those
never
words.
said that.
No. I said that she discusses her clothes. I never said she made fun of her.
There was that before we went to the bar.
I said, just beware, you're getting close to her.
and the truth is in the pudding. It's in your face. But she thinks that she can manipulate it into something else. Like, I was being a girl's girl. Should I not be a girl's girl and warn Yara that you were talking shit about her? Who was Lauren talking shit about her with? With you. Why does she feel so comfortable talking shit with you? Because you talk shit. Yara's like, Lauren, you do say that I'm very Miami. Yara, you are. And there's nothing wrong with it. And Lauren is like, I've told you that to your face, that you are very Miami, that you fit in well in Miami. But I don't think that's a negative thing. I think that that is an insecurity that Lauren and clearly Libby had. But I just thought that the whole ordeal was crazy, right? Because before they played that scene of Libby talking shit to Yara, Andre was like a psycho because he wants them all to be friends so bad, but he can't apologize for his mistakes. He's like, what happened to the truce? You're so fake. You apologize, there's a truce, and then you don't talk to us. Lauren is like, we had a truce, and then Jovi pulls me to the side and tells me what Libby told Yara. So how am I supposed to be friends with you when you're not trustworthy? So I love that they showed that scene right after, because it was like, y'all ain't innocent.
So that is a person that you cannot trust.
But you think that Yara should not trust Lauren?
Of course not.
I didn't say trust. I didn't use that word.
You just said it.
You just said,
You
like,
just
10
said
times. Makes sense. You're so twisted on all your lies and all your conspiracies. I thought
You hurt us.
We came
were
here as your
fine.
friends.
And when they get called out, Libby starts yelling. And I'm like, girl, your yelling isn't going to distract anyone from the fact that you don't make sense. You don't. And so they leave this segment, you guys, as is. This is far from over because then we find out that in the next tell-all shoot, they're going to bring out Noga. And Noga does not stand down. Noga does not like this man. And she especially does not like how Libby has done her girl. So it's a lot. But this drama continues at the mansion, okay? So we see them wrap for the day. They go to the mansion. There's a moment in the mansion where, we see Georgie, Darcey, and Gino have dinner, but Gino is in between them. They do a cute little prayer. It's wholesome. In come Libby and Andre. And they're just like, oh, yeah, we don't know why, everyone's yelling at us. Lauren and Alexi are by themselves, separate, okay? They are like, we need a debrief. We need to breathe. We need to chill. Lauren is like, I'm so embarrassed that I let him make me yell like that. But WTF? Alexi's like, yeah, we probably should chill on that. Jovi has the bright idea to bring drinks to them with Andre, the last person that they want to see. Jovi's like, there are things that I wanted to say that I didn't get to say because you guys were busy yelling. Sir. And then Andre is like, you know what? We should clear the air before that woman comes. And Lauren is like, well, first of all, she has a name. You know it. It is my friend. If you want to have a conversation with me, let's be respectful. You know her name. And Andre is being a dick, which is what he is. And he agrees that he is. So I don't understand why this blew up the way that it did. And Lauren is like, listen, if you want to talk to me, what I need is clarity. Why the hell, like who the hell initiated this rumor that my husband body shames me? Who did it? Out of nowhere. Libby comes in the corner. Oh my God, we're still talking about this? Your husband stepped to them to have this conversation. So yes, your husband can't let it go, and Lauren has every right to ask clarifying questions. The reason Andre and Libby do not like when Lauren asks clarifying questions is because their snake asses would be exposed. And so Andre is like, well, you should have asked this before. Like, oh, we're having this conversation again. And then he says a comment about like, oh, well, maybe you would have asked if Alexi hadn't dragged you out of there. And so now they're posing it like Alexi's being controlling and not letting her have a conversation. Only to literally a minute later, Andre pull Libby away from this conversation. So Lauren is next to Yara like, didn't you guys just say that the issue was that my husband pulled me away and he just pulled her away? Are we not seeing the hypocrisy? And we're the problem? So Lauren and Alexia are like, we're going to bed. They remove themselves completely from this shit show because they're like, we already put in our time. It's over. But I love that Yara was like, wow, yeah, he pulls her away from everything. No wonder she has no friends, no family. Yeah, exactly. Okay, you guys, but now we're at the point where we're in the mansion. Drinks are flowing. They still have a bartender. And things are getting a little weird. And by a little weird, I mean a little lusty, a little dramatic. So we see in Kara's room, a few of them have gathered to play a game of Truth or Dare. And at first is whatever, you know, it's people licking doorknobs and they make Matt lick Jasmine's toe because, you know, she has that foot fetish of hers. And Matt is clearly not with the program. He literally sucks her toe and is like, oh my God, it's salty. And he runs to rinse his mouth.
Suck it.
Oh my.
That was a sweaty ass toe.
And everyone, including us, is clearly traumatized from when Jasmine sucked Gino's toe at that camping site. Guillermo looks like he's sick.
Imagine you sucking, respectfully saying, Gino's feet?
It was the only thing he would let me suck.
Really?
I swear to God.
But as this Truth or Dare situation is happening upstairs, downstairs, Gino is there with Jovi and Andre. And Jovi is a shit stirrer. And he's like, Gino, do you have that number? We should call it and see if Matt answers. They call, no one answers. It seems to be a dead end. We're back upstairs. I think Jasmine asks Kara Truth or Dare. She says truth. And the question is, does she love Guillermo? It takes her forever to answer. But basically, yes, she loves Guillermo. And he's like, oh, you know, she has a song about trying again, but I don't feel like we tried in our relationship. And she's like, we is a lot of people. I definitely tried. And I think that can be argued. I think that they have very different outlooks on love and what partnership looks like. But she was like, don't say we. But then Kara switches back and she asks Jasmine, do you love Matt as much as you love Gino? And long story short, the answer is no. And even Matt knows it. Jasmine is like, oh, well, you know, I love Gino in a very toxic, obsessive, passionate way. And I love Matt, but basically no, she does not. At this point, Darcey and Julia walk into the room. And I think Jasmine dares Kara to lick Darcey's nipple, but she settles for just the boob part. What are we doing? And then Julia dares Guillermo to give Kara like a lap dance and to feed her. And there is so much chemistry between these two. If only they could talk. They don't know how to talk to each other, but there's clearly so much there, like ready to burst. That emotional wall between them is straight up concrete. Like they can't. And we will get to that. As this is happening, the guys are trying to call the Matt's number. No one is answering. The person texts back like, who's this? And they're like, oh, well, maybe it's Matt because he wouldn't expose that he's Matthew. So then they send up the girls upstairs to see if Matt is texting because that would point that that's him. This is a bust, you guys. I think that Matt probably changed his number by now, but also it doesn't even matter like whether the number checks out or not. We know that they had an inappropriate relationship. They have a kid now. There is nothing you can do about it. Divorce and just be done with it. Let them deal with their relationship without you being the scapegoat, Gino. Live your life. Let them do what they will. But anyway, there's a point that Kara kicks everyone out. She's gonna go to bed. And then the party goes back to the basement where the bartender is. And Georgie is hopped up on drinks. And he's like, oh my God, I'm hearing that Darcey's exposing her boob upstairs for a game. She's a married woman. What the hell? Everyone comes downstairs, including Darcey. And he's like, what the hell? You're just showing your boob to everyone? And she's like, it's a game. So what? And everyone's pressing. Jovi comes in like, the last time we saw you 3 months ago, you said that you guys hadn't had sex in 3 months. So now it's been 6 months. Georgie claims that they haven't been active because they've been busy. Every time we see Darcey, she looks horned up. Remember the way that she was eating that meat at the fair? And she was like, Georgie, give me your meat. Like, remember that? So I don't believe for 1 second that they're not being active because of her. Do I believe that maybe she's going through menopause? And do I believe that he is emotionally unavailable? And she probably is like, I don't know. And Darcey's basically like, it takes two to tango. We just haven't, been vibing. But she also makes a comment. I think someone said like, you just need like 15 minutes. And she's like, oh, he needs less than that. He's very much bam, bam, thank you, ma'am.
Hormonal at this moment, but I also want some romance. I want to like...
It only takes, what, 5-10 minutes?
No, he's quick. It's like a wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. It ain't hours long. That's damn sure.
And I'm like, well, that'll also do it. I mean, you guys, we're grown-ups. Your body's going through changes. You are already insecure, right? You don't feel good about yourself. You don't feel connected with your partner. Foreplay is important regardless, but I would imagine if you're seeking that affirmation from your partner, foreplay is a necessity. And if this man just wants to flip you over and do the deed and then be done, that doesn't feel good. So I imagine that that's probably also another obstacle and why Darcey may not be eager, if that. But I can totally see a world where Georgie's talking out of his ass. Because in front of everybody, in front of this audience, granted he's drunk, but in front of this audience, Georgie's like, I'm Bulgarian. Like, you guys are going to be hearing her all over this house tonight.
I'm Bulgarian. All of you going to hear her scream tonight.
And they're like, okay, yeah, go. And Darcey's like, yeah, let's do it. We see them go to the room. She's already in lingerie. She pulls him to her. This man is like a log, dead weight over her, passed out. She's like, don't go to sleep, don't.
Yeah, baby. Don't fall asleep. Wake up.
So much for that. But yeah, as I suspected, the issue's Georgie. But anyway, y'all, it is day 2. Everyone's arriving. Everyone's getting ready. And it's so funny how when they leave this set, everyone is, trying to play nice. But the minute they arrive to the studio, things get icy again. I say that because there's a moment where everyone's around Matt. And Matt is like, I thought I was going to be nervous around you guys, but everyone's so nice. And Kara is like, yeah, honestly, I didn't want to like you, but you're so likable. Kara is not next to this man. I think there's like maybe one other person or something next to them. Watching all of this is Julia and Jasmine. And Jasmine says, oh, I was so worried about him, but look at him. He's so comfortable now. And then flips and is like, I got to keep my eye on him because, he's sometimes too charming. Do you want him to get along with people or no? And I forget what the conversation, I think Kara was basically like, some people, she thinks that she's not going to like or that they're going to be overwhelming. And then she meets them and she loves them. And she's saying that like, leading up to this, she was nervous about dealing with Jasmine because she thought that Jasmine was going to be like overwhelming and just be in everyone's face. And, you know, it was a nice surprise.
I guess I've seen Jasmine blow up and like cry so much that I was like, oh, here we go. Is it just going to be like one big drama show all the time? See, just like that.
Jasmine starts reacting to the first half of it, and Kara's like, well, you're proving the first part of it right. And I was giving you a compliment. And Jasmine just comes in and like sucks the air out of the whole situation. Like, oh, well, yeah, you know, don't mind me. I'll move here so you guys can have peace and quiet. And it's like, you missed the point.
Literally trying to say, I thought you were going to be so much drama, but you actually turned out to be so nice. But you're just proving the first part.
Don't want to interrupt the peace and quiet.
Are you sure?
So I'm going to be in this corner because apparently I'm too loud.
But again, I think it's an insecurity thing. When she feels threatened, she has to shake up the space. Maybe she thinks that, you know, Kara is Matt's type. Like, I don't know. That was a very weird moment. Did you guys clock that?
Oh, it's so nice to see Georgie by Darcey's side.
Yeah. Amen.
Because sometimes I forget that you're even a couple because it's always Darcey by herself.
I know, he likes to walk
and
off.
Georgie with any female except from his wife.
True. Shots fired.
But anyway, you guys, it is time. Sean is here. She goes straight into Kara and Guillermo, okay? They get asked right off the bat. You know, we heard that there was some flirty vibes at the mansion. And Kara's like, you know, we're trying to keep things light because the minute we talk, it gets too deep and we have to deal with the real shit in our relationship. They get asked about the status of their relationship. They are very much separated. She lives in the house by herself. And they're both communicating with their facial expressions. Like, Sean is like, oh, you're at the house by yourself. And she's like, yeah. And she's like, oh, well, this is a house that you guys, you know, paid for together, right? And Carl's like,
I mean, I think it's fair. He doesn't live there. He didn't contribute money. That's the reality of what happened.
That is not.
She says no, that to get the house, you know, the loan is on her name, but the deed is both of theirs. And she's looking to get his name off the deed. And this is where shit gets dicey. Because she says that to pay for the house, to get it, it was just her. However, when it comes to mortgage, when it comes to making the house a home for the X amount of years that they were together, that was a collab. That was not just her by herself.
And actually, you were the one putting every single thing that I will spend in the house. And actually, it was more than what you were putting into the house.
And so she wants to remove him from the deed because she doesn't feel that it is fair that he get 50% of this house. And I'm like, but it is, though, because you are saying that there were even times that he paid more.
And then the payment that I was doing, it was like food and this and the other. And
Specifically about the house, it was more so me. As our budget as a whole, sometimes more him.
So even though you paid for the initial payment, the house didn't sustain itself based off of that initial payment. He contributed labor, money, like there was investment put into this home, and he's an immigrant, and like he put everything he had into it, you know? And I just need us to be honest. If it was the other way around, if it was a man doing this to a woman, there would be pitchforks out.
To be honest, if the shoe was to be turned the other way and you were paying the mortgage and she was paying more on the rest of the bills, she would be claiming, I'm paying more now.
And they've always had this like financial tug of war, but I thought that that was really low. And I think that it made her look lower, like he was taking the higher road. He was like, when he was asked if he would fight this, he's like, I came from nothing. And if I have to leave with nothing, like it's going to be what it's going to be because I don't want to fight her.
I come from nothing and I don't care if I go back there. I just want to have a good life. And if fighting with you, it's not going to give me that, so then just keep it.
And you know, that's his prerogative. I think that he's entitled to compensation in this divorce. And maybe that's why they haven't gone through anything yet. But I was like, Kara, I would understand being like, you get nothing if he cheated on you, you know, like if he did something to hurt you. But when it comes to their marriage, they just didn't jive, you know? And if he leaves with something, that is only going to benefit their young child. If his father is good, he's good. So I'm just very confused by her, like, making that choice. But again, I feel like they've always had this power dynamic in their relationship.
There's no equality in this.
You don't think there's equality in your relationship with Kara?
No.
She's always had this, I know better. Do I think that Guillermo is impulsive? Do I think that he's immature? Yes. But when it came to his responsibility in providing, he always upheld it. His decision to quit his job with health insurance was insane. I think that that was a very stupid choice. But even through that, with his little restaurant job, he made sure to deliver as a man. So I think that their resentment goes a lot deeper, but that's not the move, Kara. And he mentions, he's like, equality has never been a thing in this relationship. And he goes as far to say that the little slither of respect that he gets from her, he wouldn't get it if they didn't have a child. The way that she talks to him is nasty. The way that she refers to him is nasty. And Guillermo goes as far as to say that her mom was like, the way that Kara talks to you is not okay.
I think my general tone sometimes can be sharp, particularly if I'm upset or angry or whatever. And I think he finds that tone disrespectful.
No. We're talking about words like mother, like all of those words that they can come out, that in my opinion, you shouldn't be saying those things to your husband.
Then they get into her music career and the ways that it caused a big rift in their relationship. They show that scene of her performing and waiting for him to show up and him being like, I'm not going there. He was talking all that shit about like the culture, the way that he doesn't like the music. And she's crying because she's like, it's crazy that I'm married to someone that won't support me. And I do think that, that's hurtful because when they met, she was performing at resorts. Like he knew that this was a passion. And I do think that there's a part of it that's like icky that he doesn't support her passion, even if that's not his genre of choice. I think that that's icky. But I think the real meat of it is that who Yara is in these spaces, it's not someone that he feels comfortable with. And I feel like that is valid. He says that her routine when she's performing at these spaces is that she performs, right? But then she doesn't come straight home. She performs, she's drinking at these places, she's, being cozy with certain men, and then going to the after parties, usually at these people's houses. And let's say you have 3 gigs a week, you're going to be out until 4 a.m. 3 times a week. That's a lot. That's pushing it. And so I feel like he should have been supportive of the shows, but I can totally see how he's like, well, if she's drinking and then she's at these shows and then she's acting different under alcohol and I don't know anyone and I'm uncomfortable, I don't want to be there. And I get that. But I think the most disturbing part of it was how he says she has a problem with alcohol. She becomes a different person. We have discussed how she's aware that this is a problem. And she kind of like dances around the fact that she acknowledges it, but like whatever, is very much a whatever thing for her. And he's like, I don't like how you are cozying up to men. And she claims that it's networking. Like there's a way to network and not be flirtatious. And you are married. Like, listen, people got to do what they got to do. But like, where's the integrity? Where's the respect for your marriage? And I don't agree that her being an artist and her wanting to party are things that don't make her wifey material. I think that that's BS. I think the things that make her a bad wife is that she's inconsiderate. And I think that goes beyond being a bad wife. I think that goes beyond being a bad friend, a bad sister, a bad whatever, because she keeps being dismissive about it. But then she's like, I'm willing to put in the work, and I have. He told me he had a problem with my drinking. I stopped drinking for 2 weeks, but then she claimed that nothing changed. And I think it's crazy to think that radical things will happen in your marriage in 2 weeks when there's years of resentment. But I guess nothing happened in 2 weeks. He was still moody, according to her. They didn't really have any breakthroughs. So she's like, what's the point of me not drinking when nothing has changed? And she went back to her old habits. I think the moral of the story is that these two irk each other so bad. They are so irritated by each other. They love each other, but they hate each other. You know what I mean? And then they bring up the DJ guy. So she claims that this is just a friend of hers that she hooked up with once a decade ago and that he's like the club promoter. And so she's still, cozying up to him so that he can get her gigs. And it's one thing to text with someone to, set up something for business. I think it is something insane to be at this man's house till 4 a.m. at an after party when you are married and your husband already expressed to you that he is uncomfortable with this friendship. That is dismissive. That is not networking. Networking happens in the club. Nothing good happens after 2 a.m. So it's the dismissiveness of that, right? But then Guillermo is like, let's be honest. This man was still texting you, trying to get with you. And she's like, oh, he's married with a kid. And Guillermo's like, he's separated now. What's really the truth, And Kara, and this is a moment where I'm like, Kara, you are a pick-me because you, who is this for? She says, sure, I'm sure that if I were to text him and want to get with him, that he would.
I'll be very honest. If I went to him tomorrow and was like, hey, let's hook up, I have no doubts he would.
That doesn't help your case, one. Two, that is only proving Guillermo right, that he has a right to feel away because you guys are not in a good place. So who's to say that because you could get with this guy that you wouldn't take him up on it? Because you're not getting active with your husband. You must be getting active with somebody is what he's probably thinking. You're spending all of your quality time with this guy in the wee hours. And she's like, I understand why he would think that, but I'm not. And he needs to trust me. Girl, there are problems that we can avoid. There are situations that we can remove ourselves out of. And the fact that I think that she, in my opinion, and this is toxic, but I'm trying to get into a toxica's mindset. I think that Kara enjoys planting that seed of insecurity in Guillermo. She likes letting him know, I could be with anyone I want, even if she doesn't want this guy. Because there's just no other reason why you would keep putting yourself in these situations other than you get some pleasure out of it. And then Kara does the thing that I really hate when people do. She's like, oh, well, you knew that this is who I was. I've always partied. I've always been flirty. I've always been this. I've always been that. That is a poor excuse to say that you as a person cannot evolve. It is one thing to be coqueta, to be this, to be that when you are a single girl out in the world. It is naive for you to think that those qualities shouldn't be altered when you are married because it is just a respect thing. If you don't want to change that you are flirtatious, then committed relationships are probably not for you. So to be in a committed relationship, refuse to change, and then act like your partner is overreacting is insane. The only thing I will say though is that they have had the same problems that they've had from day one. All of these issues in their communication, we saw it their first season. And it just puts things into perspective how that we could only push things down only so much before they come back to the surface, And he's like, listen, I have no choice but to believe her if she says she didn't cheat on me. It's just sad that the person I fell in love with is gone. And that hits her and she starts crying because, I think that in theory, she likes the idea of being married, right? But I don't think she's being the partner that she thinks she is to make the marriage work. And I think it hurts her to hear how her marriage is a failure, Then they play back the scene of her mom telling her that she basically thinks Guillermo's cheating. It was a whole nothing burger. I don't think Guillermo cheated. I think that her mom is being messy and planting seeds on both of their ears. I don't understand why. But moral of the story, these two are just agree to disagree. They get asked, are you going to get a divorce? Kara gives a long answer to be like, no. She's like, it's just better to leave things as they are because, I never wanted to be divorced. It doesn't look like you ever wanted to be married either because you would be. You would work at this, which lets me know that the reason they left this open-ended is because they want to be on the last resort. She made it seem like if they got divorced, it would cause an issue with their co-parenting. Guillermo has been here for years and he's been working. So it's safe to assume he has his papers. they can get a divorce and he can co-parent and they could move on. So yeah, I think that this is definitely a ploy for the last resort. But y'all, they go on break and we know that Brandon and Julia are next. So Julia scurries to Sean Roberts and she's like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. And clearly Sean knows the news and she's like, just relax, like it's gonna be okay. So yeah, shit is about to go down. So y'all, we get to Brandon and Julia and Julia is already crying. This girl is already losing her shit and everyone's just like, okay, like what's going down? Her and Brandon talk about how, they've gone through so many ups and downs, so many miscarriages, how this journey has been very stressful. Julia can barely speak at this point. And I'm sensitive to her situation. Like, this is no joke. But I was like, Julia, you've had 6 months to think of the words to say. Girl, let's reel it in, okay? But she's like, it's been very traumatizing with all these miscarriages, which is why I wanted to keep things locked in. And she finally tells everyone, I am 6 months pregnant, and everyone's shooketh. But I really feel for her because she lives in a constant state of anxiousness. Like, even while she's carrying this baby, she's just like, if I don't feel like, a kick, like I start worrying that my baby's gone. And
I never have panic attack. I never have paranoia, what I have right now. And every day I wake up and I'm trying to feel kicking. If I feel kicking, I feel it's alive.
Julia needs therapy. She needed it before this pregnancy. She needs it now, and she's gonna need it postpartum because everything she's feeling is valid. And I've heard of other people experience this, but that kind of anxiety can be debilitating. And she has such a beautiful life, and it would suck if she can't just take it in, And I think that with the right guidance, maybe medication, whatever she needs, I think that it can be the help that she needs. I don't like Brandon, but I do think that even though he complains a lot, he ultimately leans in to help her. But I can also imagine how that could be a lot for a partner to take in, and to take it all in for 6 months by himself. Granted, his parents stress me out. I can imagine that this ordeal was so much for him. So he is so happy to finally have other people in the know. And I think that people had suspicions. Like, some of the guys are like, oh, did you get a boob job? Which I thought was a weird thing to say to someone else's wife. But then she flashes everyone her boobs. Look at my jugs. I'm clearly pregnant. And it was, Brandon didn't seem to flinch. But I was like, that was a choice. But anyway, they tell everyone, we haven't told our parents. And I totally understand why she hasn't told Betty's crazy ass. But 6 months is crazy, And Sean asks a very important question. Have you thought of the boundaries that you're going to set? And everyone's, being like, oh, you're going to need the help, this and that. She should absolutely accept help. And I think that there's nothing wrong with getting help. I think the issue with people like Betty is that when you give them a hand, they want to take the whole arm. While Julia is postpartum and taking care of a baby, the enforcer of these boundaries has to be Brandon. And that is really where he's going to prove himself. And thus far, he has been failing at the boundary part. So while I hear everyone, and it's, they've been through this, they've had babies, they're like, you're going to need the help, you're going to be so grateful. I think that Julia wants the help. I just think that she knows that help with Betty comes at a cost. And sometimes that help is not worth your mental health. And I can empathize with that and understand that. And the other end of this too is that Betty needs to be receptive to you can't take up too much space. This is not about you. This affects you. Yes, your family's growing, but it's not about you. And I don't know if she's capable of separating herself like that. But everyone's like, okay, take advantage of the momentum. You seem to be relaxed now that you've told us. Call your parents up. So she calls Russia. It's 11:30 over there. She FaceTimes her parents at the same time. And they are in shock. They don't even believe her. It's so sweet though. She flashes her belly. They're like, oh my God, are you sure? Are you sure you're really pregnant? Are you sure you just didn't have a big meal? And she's like, no. And when they find out she's 6 months along, they're like, you're kidding. No effing way. But they seem to be in good spirits. They didn't complain, like, why you waited so long to tell us. They were just like, oh my God, we're so excited. Her mom is like, I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. So it was very sweet. She seemed so relieved. But now it's time for Ron and Betty, okay? So they pull him up on the screen. Betty has a drink in hand. Surprise, surprise. This lady is always liquored up, okay? And she wastes zero time to be like, oh, yeah, you know, it's been so long. I haven't seen them. I didn't see them for Father's Day. I didn't see them for my birthday. And there's just all this distance with us. And I'm just like, lady, the last time you saw Julia, you told her to go back to Russia. I understand why Julia wants nothing to do with you. Now, Brandon doesn't need to be with Julia to see his parents. Maybe he doesn't want to be around them because he doesn't want to have to lie about Julia being pregnant, but like, that's on him. Like, he could still show up and see his parents. But now they're like, oh, he must be away from me because of that mean wife of his, you know? When it's the opposite. Julia's like, just go and don't reveal my business. And I know that they blame Julia because she's like, you know, Brandon and I have always had such a close relationship. Betty adds, you know, we need to fix this because God forbid we have grandbabies in the mix, you know, that they're my lineage. I need to be a part of it. And everyone's like,
Did I want to back to connecting with parents? Yes.
That's all we've ever wanted. And heaven forbid, there's grandkids one day that come into a situation. It's like, they're our grandkids. It's like...
And I hear her, but I don't feel like she's asking enough introspective questions to herself. Like, why is there distance? What have I done to cause this distance? I don't think that she's asking herself those questions. I think that she's placing blame everywhere but herself. And the way that she's like, you know, you guys need to come to us because we've tried and always get rejected. Why do you get rejected, Betty? It's not because you're an angel.
It's part of our blood. It's like us. We want to be part of that. And to push us away or to alienate us, that would just totally break our hearts.
So Julia is like in tears and she's like, listen, there's a lot of reasons why I've been far away from you. And, you know, I would like to work towards this. Like, I don't want things to be this way. And I empathize for Julia in this moment because it's one thing for her to be experiencing all of these, you know, heartbreaking moments with her body, but then to also be in a toxic relationship with your mother-in-law. Like, I can totally see why she doesn't want to be transparent and why she's so closed up, because the last thing she needs is a voice louder than hers, like creeping in. But she's like, we've been distant for many reasons, but we've also been lying to you. And of course, they leave it in a cliffhanger, and we will see them tell Ron and Betty about the baby next episode. But yeah, you guys, that was it for this tell-all. The next one looks insane because we're gonna have the Ron and Betty baby reveal. But it looks like Matt is this close to being in an arranged marriage with another Romanian girl, and Jasmine is like, you know, being territorial, but then again, she doesn't want to be with him. It's a whole mess. It looks juicy. So yeah, we will definitely be here next week. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments, you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.